Hello guys and welcome to another video. I mean, technically not another video, this is my first time recording, but well, here I am for the first time making a video about Marvel Rivals concept art that I drew, and let's get right into it. Okay, so as you can see here, this is, everybody's favorite, like, web swinging, I don't want to say sidekick because, that's kind of the whole part of the story. But everybody knows him. He's, everybody's favorite anomaly, I should say. you know, Miles Morales. Everybody knows Miles Morales, except that not everybody does. But everybody does know Spider-Man. Everybody's grandma knows Spider-Man. Even the loneliest lumberjack out somewhere in, I don't know, what is a lonely place? I have no idea. But we are here with Miles Morales. Now, I made Miles a duelist, as you can see right here. The reason I made him a duelist is because, well, he's Spider-Man. He fights people. And Miles, the whole idea behind Miles is that he's sort of an easier version of Peter Parker in Marvel Rival. That's my concept. Um, but here's the art. I'm my first time drawing in Marvel Rivals art style. Um, so I, it's not perfect because first time stuff like that. But as you can see, his difficulty exactly 1 star less than Peter because he plays a lot like Peter. He has a lot of stuff that is like Peter, but I made everything a tiny bit more like easier to use, I'd say, because he has all these special abilities, all this cool stuff that isn't from the same as other Spider-Man. But the trade-off is that isn't he doesn't have as much physical capability as Peter Parker. But in trade, he gets to shoot lightning and stuff, which is, if you ask me, it's pretty cool. Well, let me read out the little lore introduction overview thing. Um, let's start. Bitten by a radioactive spider, Miles is known as the Spider-Man, able to use white fluid that resembles a spider's webs to swing around his city. Although what sets, although what sets him aside from others like him is his electric punches, which he calls venom strikes. He can use which he can use as he pleases, striking foes with shocking power. Miles is undoubtedly, Miles is undoubtedly one of a kind, as as the spider as the spider he was bit by was not from his universe and was never meant to bite him specifically. But Miles has proven that he deserves the title of Spider-Man as much as any other across the Spider-Verse. You see what I did there? Across the Spider-Verse? God, I'm so corny. Let's just get on to the next one. Okay, so these are Miles's abilities. Now, since it's my first video already, I just have to shout out over here in the corner. Hero template is by u/wonderful weather on the 83 on Reddit. The font they used is Matin Sans. The font I used was Refrigerator Deluxe, both the heavy and the regular versions. But now that we have that out of the way, let's start. Let's start this already, okay? You can see here again his difficulty 4 stars as I mentioned. Here's his little symbol sigil thing. Again, I mean, in the other one you can only see a bit of it cut off, but I pretty much just drew the same thing that I drew on his chest. Now let's start off. His first thing is his melee with the left click, Venom Strike. Punch forward in a valley of 4 strikes, each punch more powerful than the last, finishing off with a both fist punch that slows down hit enemies. What I mean by this, pretty much, is just, punch 1, punch 2, punch 3, and then in punch 4, just punches with both fists, which is a whole bunch of lightning around him. And any enemies that he hits with that get slowed down. These punches would do less than, all 4 punches together would do less than Spider-Man's 3 punches that he does in his combo. I mean, he does 2 punches and a kick, but in Spider-Man's combo, Spider-Man would do more in the 3 punches than Miles would do in the 4. You wouldn't believe me how many times I tried saying that sentence and it did not make sense in my head. But now we're here. Okay, let's go on to the second one. Shocking webs. This one is the right click, and it's pretty much the same as Spider-Man's web cluster, but it's, with electricity because it's Marvel, but with electricity because Miles can do that. Shocking webs. Shoot a ball of webs dealing damage on impact, and in a splash around it. Hit enemies get the electromagnet mark. The mark is pretty much like Spider-Man's spider tag, but it's different. It's Miles Morales thing. It's electromagnet because, as you will see in some other things, it allows him to like not miss them. We go on to the passive ability, camouflage. Enemies cannot see Miles past 65 meters. What I mean is that, like Susan Storm's invisibility, that is the same thing for Miles, but only when he's 65 meters away from an enemy. But if the enemy is tagged by his electromagnet mark, then the camouflage range becomes 30 meters. Now, I think this might be a tiny bit overpowered for him to be able to just, like, run away and you can't see him anymore. You wouldn't be able to hit him past a certain point. But that would also allow him to get away easier. Now, for his space, I gave him a double jump, like so many characters in Marvel Rivals. Why are there so many characters with double jumps? It does not make sense. But yes, the double jump is called static hop. Miles is able to jump in the middle of the air. After a jump, he gets a bonus of speed. Pretty much, he does his double jump thing, but after he does it, he gets speed boost. He's fast. He's fast afterwards. I did have the idea that maybe it would go over to his team, but I don't know. Is that a good idea? Comment down below. I know that I know YouTubers say to comment all the time, but you know, it's because it's actually pretty helpful. So just do it, please. If you like, if you God damn it, if you like this video, just go ahead and do all the stuff that YouTubers normally tell you to do, and we'll just continue on. Next one is the ability on his F instead of Spider-Man's annoying uppercut. It's called web. Instead of Spider-Man's annoying uppercut, it's called web whip. He uses it to hit enemies with a string of web, dealing more damage the more health an enemy has. Marked enemies get more damage. What I mean by this is pretty much a full health enemy would get more damage if hit by the web whip than an enemy that is almost dying. But it would still kill an enemy that's almost dying. It's just more worth it to start off with the web whip. And if the enemy is marked, it would get more damage on top of the damage calculations with the amount of health that the enemy has. This is based on the amount, like percentage, and not about how much health they have. So tanks wouldn't get more damage. I mean, they would, but it's percentile based. It's not like Groot gets a whole bunch of damage while Rocket gets a little bit. Rocket would still get more damage if he has full health than if he had 50% health. Same thing for Groot or anyone. But that damage is percentile based, so it would deal more damage to characters with more health. Moving on to the next one, I call this one Chain Lightning. The little icons based around the Miles Morales video game. It's two chains and there's lightning on it. I'm a smart little cookie. Chain Lightning. Shoot forward a bolt of lightning, dealing damage and bouncing between enemies. Pretty much just shoot lightning and it bounces between enemies like Moon Knight's little moon boomerangs. What does he call it? I have no idea. But anyway, that is pretty much it. It's just a ranged version, another ranged attack for him. Because, he's not supposed to just be Spider-Man. Now, his most important ability, Venom Dash. Dash forward, and the enemies in your way while you dash. Venom Dash. Dash forward. Enemies in the way of the dash get take damage and get slowed. If enemies are marked, bounce between them. Just like the Chain Lightning ability, if your enemies are marked, you're gonna go from one, then to the other, then to the other. It bounces up to 6 times, so you can go all the way through all the enemies if you hit all of them, and it would do a lot of damage if they're marked. But, if they're not marked, then you wouldn't. But since he's supposed to mark a lot of people for his abilities to be more effective, that's why I made the shocking webs have splash damage, and it would splash hit people and give them the mark. Like pretty much like the vibranium spear from Black Panther, and I mean there isn't much more to say. You, yeah, that. Oh my God! Okay, let me lock in again. Finally, for his ult, you have my own thing. Little reference. You know how it is. You make the little reference. I tried being as much of a Marvel Rivals dev as I could with these names, but let me read out the little description. Draw an electric sword, then throw it forward. The sword explodes for massive damage, and the sword explodes for massive damage and a slowness debuff for hit enemies. My own thing launches chain lightning from hit enemies. So basically, you draw the sword, you just go, watch me do my own thing, or whatever cool voice line you can think of for his ultimate, watch me do my own thing, and then he throws it. It would explode on impact, sort of like Maximum Pulse, and it would do a lot of damage, not as much as Maximum Pulse, enough for him to kill people with like his combo, kill people around middle of the road health, like the Punisher. Say the Punisher. The Punisher is always used as an example. Say the Punisher. The Punisher is always used as an example by the Marvel Rivals devs. So say the Punisher. He would throw it. He would still survive, but probably would be enough for the little sound that you get when you're on low health. That sounds like a panther roaring. Okay, bro, I didn't do that. And then you could finish them up with a web whip, or you can use the web whip before, then ult them. Use some shocking webs and then Venom Dash. But if everybody's grouped up a lot, the chain lightning that will be launched from the hit enemies will bounce around, and since they're launched from the enemies, they can bounce back to them. If that doesn't make sense, just imagine like if that doesn't make sense, I don't know how to explain it good, but they bounce from the enemy. They go out from the enemy, so they haven't bounced from that person yet. They started there, so it can bounce back to that person because the chain lightning normally can only hit one person per lightning. So my own thing would pretty much be, to combo along with the rest of his stuff, just like a lot of ults. A lot of ults are good for comboing stuff. I mean, the first one I can think of is Fast. Then there's also like Armed and Dangerous. That's not the old name, but it's the voice line, so it's my channel. I can do whatever I want. Um, Now you might have noticed and might have asked yourself, "Oh my God, what about the team up abilities?" That's what you sound like. Um, well, the team up abilities, I've planned them for some future characters, for some future videos that I might make. Who knows? Keep an eye out and an ear. And if you want to figure out what the team up abilities are, there's a way to know what the next episode is gonna be. You don't have to, of course, but I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and also turn on the bell stuff. Well, YouTubers normally do. But with that being said, I think that's everything from me. This is Mar. mm, This is Miles Morales, as I interpreted him, if he would be in Marvel Rivals. And I guess I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye now.